Good. You're welcome. Hey, Jim. Hello? Yeah. Good. Yeah. All right, we'll start in about 2 minutes. One second.
Good afternoon. I'm Jeff Berman, the United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York. Today, we announce criminal extortion charges against Michael Avenatti. The charges are based on Avenatti's scheme to extract more than $20 million in payments from a public company by threatening to use his ability to garner publicity to inflict financial and reputational harm on the company. Avenatti's conduct had nothing to do with zealous advocacy for a client or any other kind of legitimate legal work. Instead, Avenatti used illegal and extortionate threats for the purpose of obtaining millions of dollars in payments for himself. Avenatti repeatedly pressured the company to agree to pay or risk having Avenatti hold a press conference that he claimed would dramatically drive down the stock price of the company and its market value. As Avenatti threatened in one recorded meeting, if the company did not meet his demands, the company might die, but if not, it was, quote, going to be inflicted with cut after cut after cut after cut. As alleged, the entire scheme played out in less than a week. Avenatti first met with representatives of the company last Tuesday, March 19, in Manhattan. At that meeting, Avenatti said he represented a client who coached an amateur high school basketball team sponsored by the company, which is Nike. The team had recently lost that contract worth $72,000 a year, and Avenatti claimed the coach had information about potential misconduct by employees at Nike. The allegations of misconduct were similar in kind to those that formed the core of a prior criminal prosecution brought by our office, that payments were made to families of high school basketball players. In that meeting, and in subsequent conversations that were recorded as part of our investigation, Avenatti threatened to hold a press conference at which he would make these allegations public if the company did not agree to his financial demands. Avenatti promised to forego the press conference and allow the company to avoid financial harm if the company agreed to pay his client $1.5 million and for Avenatti himself to retain Avenatti and another co-conspirator to conduct a multi-million-dollar internal investigation, that the company did not request. Avenatti made clear that he was approaching the company at a time intended to maximize the potential financial damage of such a press conference, namely on the eve of the annual NCAA tournament and the company's quarterly earnings call. As Avenatti threatened on one call recorded during the investigation, if the company did not accede to his financial demands, and in his words, quote, "I'll go take $10 billion off your client's market cap." In a recorded meeting the next day with representatives of the company, Avenatti made clear that he expected to be paid up to $25 million, with $12 million to be paid up front and deemed earned when paid. And when asked by a lawyer for the company why the company would agree to such an arrangement, Avenatti responded in substance that he had the company in a very vulnerable position where he could wipe out $5 to $6 billion of its market capital. When the company's lawyers resisted paying Avenatti to conduct an internal investigation, Avenatti told the company it could skip paying for an internal investigation if instead it simply paid him $22.5 million. Then Avenatti said he would, quote, "ride off into the sunset." Pressure and a sense of urgency were used in delivering these threats. As you can see from the timeline, this all happened in a period of 3 days. On day one, March 19th, a Tuesday, this was the first meeting between Avenatti, representatives from Nike, and the co-conspirator. At this meeting, Avenatti, for the first time, made his extortionate demands and threats. Following that meeting, representatives from Nike called prosecutors at my office and informed our office of the extortionate demands and threats made by Avenatti. Going forward, all interactions between Nike representatives and Avenatti were recorded and overseen by the FBI and my office. On day 2, Wednesday, March 20th, there was a recorded phone call with Avenatti, the co-conspirator, and representatives from Nike, where Avenatti again made his threats and demands. And on day 3, there was a meeting which was recorded on Thursday, March 21st, last Thursday, in which Avenatti repeated his demands and threats. And as you can see, he graphically described his hold on the company. At the end of this meeting, on Thursday, they agreed that there would be one final meeting the coming Monday, which is today. And at that meeting, Nike would either accede to Avenatti's demands or suffer the consequences. After that meeting, about 2 hours after that meeting, Avenatti decided to turn up the heat on Nike. He issued a tweet, and it said, "Something tells me that we have not reached the end of this scandal." And by scandal, he's talking about the college basketball corruption prosecutions brought by the Southern District of New York. The scandal, it is likely far, far broader than imagined. So while this tweet went out to the public, it was intended and designed for an audience of one. This was Michael Avenatti's shot across Nike's bow. Through the alleged course of conduct, Avenatti used legal terms like claims and settlements and retainers, but these were mere devices to provide cover for Avenatti's extortionate demands for a massive payday for himself. By engaging in the conduct alleged in the complaint, Avenatti was not acting as an attorney. A suit and tie doesn't mask the fact that, at its core, this was an old-fashioned shakedown. The charges announced today reflect the hard work not only of this office, but our law enforcement partners at the Federal Bureau of Investigation. To my left is my good friend, Bill Sweeney, the Assistant Director in charge of the FBI's New York Field Office. I want to thank him and his team for their professionalism in seeing this investigation through. I want to acknowledge and thank the career prosecutors and agents of my office for their role in the investigation and prosecution of this case. To my right is Matt Podolsky, Robert Boone, Rob Sobelman, and their supervisor in the Public Corruption Unit, Edward Discant. The talent and professionalism of these dedicated public servants is really extraordinary. Our legal system, our system of justice, requires and relies on attorneys, members of the bar, to not simply follow the law, but uphold its finest principles and ideals. But when lawyers use their law licenses as weapons, as a guise to extort payments for themselves, they are no longer acting as attorneys, they are acting as criminals, and they will be held responsible for their conduct. I'd now like to invite Bill Sweeney to the podium.
Thanks, Jeff. Earlier this afternoon, Michael Avenatti was arrested in Manhattan for the charges just outlined by the U.S. Attorney. This is nothing more than a straightforward case of extortion, and as a result, Mr. Avenatti was placed into custody and brought to the FBI offices at 26 Federal Plaza for arrest processing. In the event that anybody needs to be reminded, this type of behavior is illegal and it will not be tolerated, especially when committed by a lawyer who is supposed to use his license to practice law, not to willfully violate it. Thank you to the FBI personnel, George, Matt, and the rest of your team that's still out on the street, who conducted the investigation discreetly, professionally, and quickly. And thank you, Jeff, to your team who stands to my right. Thank you for your dedication and professionalism. Thank you.
We'll take your questions. Yes.
What is your understanding of the difference between illegal extortion and legal settlement negotiations?
Extortion is when you threaten to do something for a thing of value and you don't have a right, a plausible right to that thing of value. So here, Avenatti was not extorting in terms of seeking money for a client. He was seeking money for himself.
Jeff, if you had an opportunity to assess whatever Michael Avenatti was bringing to Nike and his allegations as to whether or not that's true, particularly in light of your office's prosecution of the basketball scandal?
Our investigation is continuing.
Are there any plans to charge or further investigate CC1 as named in the complaint, the other lawyer?
Our investigation is continuing.
Could you tell us when and where Avenatti was arrested? Because he said he was going to have a presser tomorrow.
Avenatti was arrested at the location where the Monday meeting was supposed to occur,
And when, what, do you know when? Sorry.
a few hours ago. Yes,
Did his tweet this morning hasten his arrest in any way?
no comment.
Is there anything you can say about the allegations of misconduct against Nike employees, whether you believe those are founded in any way?
Our investigation is continuing.
Can you say anything about the case in California and how that plays into these charges?
The cases are entirely separate. Those are financial related cases. This is an extortion case that began less than a week ago.
Is it coincidental that both were filed today, or
The arrest was coordinated between the two offices, but the investigations and charges are entirely separate.
Will he be extradited to California after this?
I expect that he will be presented before a California court.
how soon do you expect that to happen?
It's not clear.
Did Avenatti's client, the basketball professional, cooperate with the FBI?
No comment.
Can you say anything about whether Avenatti was cooperative once he was arrested, or what his demeanor was?
No comment. Thank.
Given Michael Avenatti's role in the Michael Cohen case, obviously unrelated, but given his fame and just how profile he is at this point, what would you say to anyone who might say or might raise questions that there might be some kind of motivation, political motivation or anything like that?
This office doesn't take politics into account when it decides to charge a case, and as you can see from the timeline, as I just went over, we received a call 6 days ago by the victim saying that there was extortionist threats made against them, and that's how we became involved in this case. Thank you.